All right, today we're going to start topic 2, adding and subtracting decimals to the hundredths. And the essential question for topic 2 is how can sums and differences of decimals be estimated? What are the standard procedures for adding and subtracting whole numbers and decimals? And how can sums and differences be found mentally? You have a lot of digital resources available to you. All living things are classified as producers, consumers, or decomposers. Producers make food, consumers use the food producers make or eat other organisms. We are consumers. Here is a project on how much food consumers need. So here's a math science research project. You could write a report including use the internet or other sources to find information about producers and consumers. We're not going to be able to do this week because we are not doing some science, but these are some questions for you to look at. So moving along, we're going to first review what we know from 4th grade. So reading what you know, you've got some vocabulary words that you will be looking at, but let's see what you can remember. Choose the best term from the box and write it on the blank. The blank is the result of subtracting one number from another. And the difference is the result of subtracting one number from another. Two numbers or expressions that have the same value are called equivalent. The answer to an addition problem is the sum. One way to estimate an answer is to blank the numbers and then do the calculation. So one way to estimate is to round the numbers and then do the calculation. Okay, the addend are the numbers you're adding together to get the sum. And inverse operations means to switch things, make them opposite. So we know that 2 times 3 equals 6, and 6 divided by 2 equals 3. That's an inverse operation. We'll be talking more about them. Round each number to the nearest 10th place, and just make sure you're aware we're rounding to decimals. So we want to underline the value. We're going to the tens place, and we're going to look at the guy next door and decide, is it going to stay the same or go up? And because 6 is greater than 5, it's going to make the 3 go up to 4. We're looking at the 5. Is it going to do anything to the 4? Because 5 is 5 or greater, it's going to make the 4 go up. And the 9 is going to make that 0 go up. Round each number to the nearest hundredth place. So you need to know your place values. If you forget, you go back to your place value chart. Looking at the guy next door, 7 is going to make the 1 go up. Increase. 5 is going to make the 5 go up. Got an increase there. Remember, we're stopping at the hundredths place. And 2 is not going to do anything to that 2, so we're just going to leave him alone. And the next one, round to the underlined digit. And that direction means you've got to look to see what's underlined. So on number 11, we're rounding to the ones place. The 5 is going to make the 4 go up. Remember, we're stopping at the underlined digit. The 8 is going to make the 4 go up. And the 5 will make the 2 go up. So that's a review of rounding, which we did in the last lesson in topic 1, rounding of decimals. Sometimes the review goes back to 4th grade. Sometimes it goes back to the previous lesson. So in that case, it was going back to a lesson we did at the beginning of the year. Addition and subtraction with regrouping. Find each sum or difference. So for these, you're going to just be adding. And remember, when we add whole numbers or any numbers, we line up by place value. And at your age, we're usually going to start with the ones place and add in that direction. So 9 plus 5 is 11. We carry the 1. 9 plus 3 plus 1 is 13. Carry the 1. 5 plus 1 plus 4 is 10. Carry the 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. And that was our regrouping. Had to do with our carrying numbers and renaming. For number 15, so that's number 14. And if you have a notebook, remember you're putting your work in the notebook or using a whiteboard. For number 15, 612 minus 357. Remember, I'm lining values up, and I'm going to need to regroup here. I'm going to need to borrow because I can't take a 5 away from a 2. If you remember from 3rd and 4th grade, we're going to borrow 10. And we're going to make this a 12. So 12 minus 5 is 7. Now we have 5. We're trying to take that away from 0. We can't do that. So we're going to have to rename 10 minus 5 is 5. And 5 minus 3 is 2. And check your work on a calculator in this lesson. But don't do it on a calculator. You need to learn how to do this without a calculator. But you absolutely can check your work on a calculator. Number 16, we're subtracting again. 2 take away 1 is 1. 5 take away 6, I can't do that. So I'm going to have to borrow. I'm going to go all the way over here to the thousands place. And so now I have 15 minus 6 and is 9. And 5, I can't do 7 take away 5, so I'm going to have to borrow. Whoops, wrong spot. I can do 9 minus 7 is 2, and there we go. Sorry about that. And the Pecos River is 926 miles long, and the Brazos River is 1,280 miles long. How many miles longer is the Brazos River than the Pecos River? So we're going to do some subtraction. I will put some MobiMax subtraction of whole numbers in MobiMax. Some of you might have forgotten how to do this, and you might need some review. The rest of you will just rock a nice solid review. So 354, there we go. And the next thing we're going to talk about before we even start the topic is our vocabulary words. So for the vocabulary words for this chapter, there's only 4 of them: commutative, property of addition, associative property of addition, compatible numbers, and compensation. So let's take a look at those words. And remember, you've got this in your book. So you are following along in your book. They're the purple papers, the My Word cards. You can cut them out and use them like flashcards. Compatible numbers is adjusting one number. Oh, wait, what are we doing here? Oh, wrong thing. What am I doing here? All right, let me come down to these guys here. Adjusting one number to make a computation easier and balancing the adjustment by changing another number is using compensation. So it's kind of like borrowing from one number to make it easier to add. And you guys have all done this before. Don't get too confused at the tricky language. It's just naming some things you already do. So if I wanted to add 12 plus 8 in my head, I can steal the 2 from that and add it here. So now I have a 10 here and a 10 here, and 10 plus 10 is 20. That's what compensation is. If I wanted to subtract 17, take away 9, in my head, I could say 17 minus 10 is 7, but I only took 9 out. So I'm actually going to be left with 8. So that's compensation, and we'll talk more about that. And we're going to do compatible numbers, or numbers that are easily added or subtracted mentally. Those are my favorite kind of numbers, the kinds you can use for mental math, and all those awesome things you learned in the lower grades, like the facts families, all the different ways of making 10. Those are going to help you out in using your mental math skills. And the associative property of addition, is when we can, an adding can be regrouped and the sum remains the same. So when we are, such probably addition, yeah. Add-ins can be moved around. So if I have 2 plus 3 plus 2, it's the same as saying 2 plus 2 plus 3. I can move them around and I have the same value. We can only do that in multiplication and addition. We can't do that in division and subtraction. Our answers come out all wonky. And the last one, the commutative property, is very similar. It's just instead of having more than one number, you're going to have just two numbers. So the commutative property of addition is 7 plus 4 is equal to 4 plus 7. It's just two values switching places. Associative property is regrouping, but you're still getting the same answer at the end. So that's the introduction, the vocabulary, and the review what you know for topic 2. And I will put some things up on MobyMax for you. So that will help you a little bit to reinforce some of the skills in whole number subtraction if you have forgotten how to do that.